about politics or about the effects of different things on society and on you. So let's jump into it. Hello, everybody out there in Radio Land and online. Thank you for tuning into The Divide with Marcus C. Williams. We are here in your ear having those conversations that you need to hear. You're listening to us on WRFZ 106.3 FM. We are the number one conservative radio talk show in all of New York State. Let's make it all of the world. Make sure you hit that follow, hit that like button. Every like helps a lot. Every share helps a lot. And it doesn't cost you anything to share. So just hit that thumbs up button real quick and we'll get into it. So as we have these conversations about what's going on in the world and across the nation, let's talk about what's on the tip of everybody's tongue internationally, and then we'll bring it back home. So internationally, we just toppled a whole government. Like bing, bang, boom, U.S. is in the room. Okay, we just took out the president of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro. And, you know, everybody's been complaining about him for some years after he took over for Hugo Chavez, who implemented socialism and communism in actual Venezuela. So when people are like, oh, there's no socialism, there's no communism, there most certainly is. And it's right here in our own backyard in Venezuela. But now the U.S. came in there. Okay, we came in there lock, stock, and two smoking barrels, and we kicked the whole president out of the country. We took him, we put him before our tribunals right now because we're talking about he is in trouble for drug trafficking. So, you know, they said he's the head of the sons of what it was called. It doesn't even matter what his whole cartel nonsense was called. But here's the deal. This is a whole foreign president. So we just toppled a government. I need everybody to understand that and receive that for a second. The United States of America just toppled a whole government. Like, bow. Not a whole bunch of blood loss. Not a whole bunch of lives lost. We just went in there, picked up their president and said, it is what it is. Get some. You know, and a lot of people are like, oh, well, what's going on there? Why would the U.S. do that? Well, because Venezuela has been a pain in our side for quite some time, and not really for all of the reasons that people like to say online and stuff like that. The U.S. could care less about a country being communist or socialist. It's about who that country is aligned with, right? It's about who they're dealing with in that country that's actually in odds with the United States and our philosophy and what we want to bring to the world. I see some people out there watching. Who's out there? Oh, hey, I see you listening to me on the radio in the car. All right. Pop you up there. All right, you guys, share this out. So as we talk about what's going on in Venezuela, we have to mention that Venezuela for years has been tied into different countries like Russia and China, and we need to put that out there. Russia and China really matter when it comes to the Southern Hemisphere. You know, this is why we really went into Venezuela. It's not so much about the drugs. It's not so much about the oil, but it's about China and Russia being right in our backyard. About 30 minutes from launching a missile right to hit Miami, they could. You know, hit the like button, hit the share button, get this out there. So as we talk about this, we have to bring in the whole geopolitical concept of what's happening and what happened. So let's start through it real quick. We're going to breeze through it. First, when Hugo Chavez took over Venezuela, he was a bad man. And he basically implemented socialism, which the country had never seen before on such a scale. And it really, really, really tore up their country bad. And what happened was all the industries went from being private. Venezuela went from being a big I guess you would say, multi-continent superpower, you know, as far as finance goes, to being not worth a lick of spit in a couple of years. And who suffered? The people of Venezuela suffered. And the people of Venezuela suffered really bad. And the gangs grew because, you know, when people start seeing suffering and pain and stuff like that, they got to figure out some way to make them feel more empowered. So gangs took over. You know, you had all of these different other militant groups take over different parts of the country and stuff like that. A lot of them were pushed and supporting Hugo Chavez. Then we move into Maduro, and Maduro is his successor. You know, we tried to kill Maduro a couple years ago. We tried to blow him up with drones. It did not quite work. Like little baby drones, like the ones that you see on the drone racers on the TV. Yeah, it didn't quite work. So that was interesting. But that also should be alarming, because if they could do it to him, who else could they do it to? They could get you real quick, right? You know, so that's something, and we'll talk about that a little later in the episode. But we have to talk about the fact that Venezuela is one of the richest resourced countries in the Southern Hemisphere. And well, what do you call it? The Western Hemisphere? I guess it's kind of both. It is both. But we have to talk about how Venezuela is so resource rich. And this is one of the benefits that Venezuela had going for them. It's not just that Venezuela had all of these different things for, oil, because, right, oil is always a big conversation when it comes to Venezuela. My biggest thing is you talk about the oil, but you don't talk about gold. Like, what? How do you talk about oil, but you don't talk about gold, when Venezuela has one of the biggest gold deposits in the world? You know, like, that is something that is worth mentioning when we're talking about Venezuela. More so over, I'd like to talk about, where is Venezuela's actual gold? Like, who got a hold of that when we took over the country? Do we have that? Are we using Venezuela's gold to pay down our debt? And I'm talking about what was in the coffers of the capital, okay? I'm not talking about what's still in the ground. But we need to have these important conversations, because nobody else is wanting to have them. You got the left talking about, look at the U.S. being imperial and going into another country. You got the right talking about, it's about the oil. It's about so much more. And there's so much loss in that conversation. Now, let me tell you guys where I come from in this perspective, right? I don't care. On skill, I don't care about Venezuela. No offense to Venezuela. I'm sure that the people in Venezuela love Venezuela. But I live in the United States of America. So if it's not helping the United States of America, I don't want nothing to do with it. And I definitely don't want our troops on the ground in a foreign nation, so that our troops are being expended when the American people aren't getting anything. What are we getting for our troops being in Venezuela? You know, and this is why we need to have the full conversation, which isn't being had. The issue with Venezuela, again, it goes back to who else was getting and gaining influence in Venezuela. In Venezuela, we have I thank you for liking and subscribing. If you guys are watching, hit like, hit subscribe, and hit that share button. Every like and comment helps a lot. I'll pop your comment up on the screen. As we talk about Venezuela, we have to go back to the fact that they were beefing with us for a long time. Venezuela's been beefing with us. And they've ushered in a way and a door right in the back for China and for Russia. China has a plentiful amount of mineral contracts and mineral already mining going on in Venezuela. Venezuela is really, really resource rich. If you guys are on Substack, I just wrote a Substack about it. Search for my thing. It's Marcus C. Williams on Substack. You'll find me. But if we talk about this, the minerals there in Venezuela are largely minerals that you would need for any type of defense development, for any type of computer development, for anything like that. That is all so very important. And if we're not talking about the minerals, we're not doing justice to the conversation. Look at how everything is going super high tech right now. And Venezuela is crazy, crazy mineral rich. But again, also the gold, right? Also a mineral, but we also need gold for computering, manufacturing, and stuff like that. So we can talk about that too. But if we're not talking about that, we are missing everything that's going on. Now, because China and Russia were all involved in Venezuela, you know, that was one of their big BRICS partners, you know. If you're not familiar with BRICS was this whole concept of setting up an alternative economy so that they can move away from the Western hegemony and the Western nations being in charge of the world order. So BRICS is the Brazil, Russia, India, China, and then it's got a whole bunch of other BRICS plus nations and stuff like that. South Africa was one of them also, but also a whole bunch of other countries there. Now, one of their moves was to push for de-dollarization, where they all start to trade in other types of currency, and they were working on setting up a currency that was backed by gold. And if you look into the news over the last year or two, you'll see that China and Russia has taken back a lot of their gold back to their country. They've ramped up gold production and purchasing, and we need to see about that, as well as India and other countries, like I mentioned. So the whole point is to get away from the ever-looming shadow of the United States of America. And that's something that we as Americans need to be cognizant of, you know? I love America. It's my only country. I don't got another one. I'm not trying to find another one. This is where I live. This is the only country I care about. If all the other countries fell off the map tomorrow, I wouldn't bat an eye. No offense. Love everybody. But this is where I live, right? So I got to prioritize my home. I got to prioritize America, and I got to prioritize American interests, because that's what matters, because we are American, and people miss that, you know? So a whole bunch of people right now mad at what happened in Venezuela, talking about, oh, well, we are messing with the sovereignty of another nation. You absolutely are right. We 100% are. Okay. And if you know me, if you follow me for some time, I don't really like that concept. I don't think that we should be going into other countries. But if we are going to go into other countries, we need to be taking over the country. We need to be incorporating it into the United States of America. There's no reason for us to go take over Venezuela and then give it back to some loopy-loo woman that's all tied into affairs with Israel. Why would we do that? Why would we do that? Trump's like, oh, we're going to be in charge of Venezuela until we can transition to why do I want you to transition to government? We just took over a country. Why are we not incorporating it in the United States of America? Make it make sense to me. Look at all of the other issues that we've had. And for this, you got to go back a little bit in history. Okay. But in the history of South and Central America and the United States tied in there, we always down there toppling some government that we already had put into power, or it's our problem that they came to power to begin with. You know, Nicaragua, Panama, Cuba. Cuba used to be part of the United States. A lot of people don't know that. Cuba used to be part of the United States, and I definitely want Cuba back. Cuba and the Philippines. But we owe the Philippines an apology, because we didn't treat them so right when we had them. My bad, Philippines. I wasn't alive then. If it was me, it'd be a different story. Y'all can come back home when y'all ready. Okay, we'll give you full statehood and everything. See, a lot of this is about territorial acquisition when we talk to military strategy on paper, right? Venezuela is right in a mining-rich area. It's right in a oil-rich area, and it's right next to Guyana. Okay, Guyana is super, super oil-rich and wealthy, which is worth a whole conversation at some other time, because Guyana's got its whole own thing going on there. If you guys aren't familiar with Guyana, I'd encourage you to go look it up. Weird and different and unusual. The Indians are a small population. I'm talking red dot, not feathered. The Indians are a small population there, but they run like the whole government. They done subjugated all the darkies and all types of other crazy nonsense. Just the whole history of Guyana is like, wow. Like you gotta go look it up. But anyway, Guyana is oil rich also. So they just found some more oil off the coast. Okay. And they're looking to drill there and get some more oil over there. And what also happened is during Maduro's time in office, not even less than a year ago, he said that he was going to invade Guyana and force annex part of Guyana, because he says that that's part of Venezuela's territory, when really it was about the resources in the area. And again, I'd say resources because it's not just the oil, but it is also oil. We can't negate the fact that oil does have something to do with it, but there's a lot of other stuff tied into it. So I don't want people to just fall flat on their face and focus on that. Now, this was a very serious issue. Okay, not just the possible takeover and annexation of part of Guyana, not just because of the fact that it's a sovereign nation, but because of the fact that the U.S. has deep ties into oil production and forestry and other industries over there. And so does Israel. Israel has a lot of contracts with Guyana, which nobody ever talks about, because Israel is all up and down through South and Central America and is actually behind a lot of these different destabilizations and the governments and stuff like that that's going on down there. But we can't talk about that because nobody pays enough close attention, and everybody views Israel as some small, teeny tiny thing, and they don't realize how powerful and, honestly, excuse the affirmer, bad behind Israel is. Mossad is 10 times better than the CIA. No offense to the CIA. I'm sure you're listening, but they're 10 times better at that. And they have only one interest. That is the interest of their own nation, which is exactly where the United States needs to get. We need to get like that. Israel only cares about Israel. How come the United States doesn't care about the United States like Israel cares about Israel? We should be on that wave too. Later for you and all your other countries, and if you feel some type of way about what the U.S. does, or if you're not here to help us, get out, but these are the conversations that we don't have. And I've done other episodes and stuff before, and I've told you time and time again, Israel is using the U.S. as a mercenary force to push a lot of the stuff and its agenda, and people don't want to have those conversations. Hey, I see you out there. Appreciate you tuning in. Please make sure you guys are liking and subscribing. So Israel is pushing a lot of the stuff that the U.S. is doing, including in South and Central America, like what we just saw in Venezuela. Do you know who's taking all of the contracts down there right now? Israel's taking all of the defense contracts down there, down in Venezuela, down in Guyana. Like, we really need to be paying attention to what's going on. And I know people are like, oh, well, Israel is our ally. Israel is our ally. So is India. So is England. So is Australia. But we're not going to tolerate any of these other countries getting all of these different contracts for surveillance and drone networks and all of this data collection and stuff in any other nation nearby us. Why so for Israel then? Again, we need to be prioritizing the United States and America's interests. I appreciate that Israel cares about Israel and wants to expand for the sake of Israel, but we need to be focused on ourselves and where the expansion helps us, because they're not trying to help us. Israel's not caring about the U.S. They don't care a lick of spit about the U.S. unless it comes to getting U.S. money, and that is a straight fact. And again, I'm not mad at them for that. You understand? Because if they can get it, they can get it. But this also goes back to lobbying and foreign interests being inside our country, inside our halls of power, inside the Senate, inside the House of Representatives. And at some point, we need to have a very serious conversation on that. And these people need to be systematically eliminated from participating in our government because they're moving our country all willy-nilly here and there just for their own benefit. Now, let's get back into the Venezuela thing a little bit more, okay? Because what we have is a regional issue down there, right? As you guys know, you've got Cuba. Cuba is socialist. That's a problem. As you know, we just pardoned Honduras's, ex-president who was here. We had him on some narco charges, I guess. We got the whole thing in Brazil. Brazil is its own whole thing, tits up. That guy in there in Brazil is a socialist also. So that, he was arrested for fraud. You understand what I'm saying? Then they let him out, and Bolsonaro and them were accusing him of election rigging and stuff like that, and oppression of the people and fraud. And then he's like, oh, no, that didn't possibly happen. Well, the man is a fraudster. He's a known fraudster, and we know he's a fraudster because he was in prison for fraud. Like, what? When he was president? Like, this is the crazy nonsense. So we need to have those conversations, and it's important. Yes, if you guys wanted to, somebody asked how can they work the Cash App. You guys can just go, if you have Cash App, you can just do $MW Real, the number 1. That's $MW Real 1. If you want to do Cash App, we also have Venmo and PayPal, and you can do that, and that would be Marcus C. Williams on Venmo or PayPal. So these type of things are important to have these important conversations about. When we look at these things going on in let's just say the Caribbean area, right? Let's not say South America. I'm going to say the Caribbean, right? Even though we're talking about some South American countries. So when we talk about the South American and Caribbean countries. We have to look at a number of patterns that we've seen with China and Russia influencing a lot of these other countries down there. We're talking about these socialist regimes. We're talking about Venezuela. We're talking about Cuba. We're talking about Brazil. We're talking about what's going on in Honduras. We're talking about what's going on in all of these other places. And we need to understand that it's all connected. And at the end of the day, it all goes back to China. A lot of these connections go back to China. Okay. We have to make sure that we're paying attention to what is going on the world stage. China hates us. Point blank, period. There's no ands, ifs, or buts about it. And what China is attempting to do is China is trying to maneuver themselves to disempower the United States. That's why they're all in Mexico right now. That's why you got their narco president, Shannonbaum. Okay, we're not going to get into her and her ties to Israel. But that's why you got their narco president, Shannonbaum, talking about, oh, you should release Nicolas Maduro or whatever the case is. You tied in with the narcos too. Okay, don't play in our face. 130 something other people that were running for president in Mexico mysteriously died so that you could be president. Like, are you serious, right? Like, how does that work? Like, can we talk about that? A non-Mexican, Israel-aligned Jew in Mexico when the whole country of Mexico is largely Christian, specifically Roman Catholic? Like, how'd you even get in office, bro? All of these people all of a sudden magically died. Poof, gone, dead. To let you in office. So you can't be paying attention to her and stuff like that. She's trash too. Okay? China is all up and down in Mexico. They're using Mexico as a shipping vessel for a drop off of all of their goods. Okay, so that they can funnel them into the United States and say that they were from Mexico. It's a trick and it's a trap around different trade regulations and stuff like that. But also it's a disservice to the United States where they can help flood us with cheaper goods. This is a serious problem. And you know, Americans, we love cheap goods, right? And that's also part of a problem because it shouldn't be cheap that we want. It should be quality. And that's probably why we're in such a disposable society now. Everything is absolutely disposable. And that's something that we need to have a conversation about too at some other time. But let's get back into it, talking about the Mexico connection. Let's talk about the Panama connection, right? Panama has been there, the Panama Canal, the canal that we dug, okay, and we had men die digging the Panama Canal, was given back to Panama a couple years ago. Then China took over the Panama Canal. What type of chicanery and nonsense is that? That's not okay. That's not okay at all. So the U.S. has been going back and forth with Panama, and we trying to take the Panama Canal back. But now they're putting in place BlackRock as a group that's going to administer the Panama Canal. Again, this corporatist nonsense. Okay, hedge funds and all this trash. And how does it benefit the American people? See, this is what we have to have the conversation about because it's a much wider conversation than most people put together. Hit that like button, hit that share button, get this message out there. Let's have this conversation. If you want to be part of the conversation, drop a comment below and we will put it up on the screen. You guys know it's very, very, very important to talk about all of these issues because we talked about Mexico, we talked about Venezuela. What about Honduras, right? What's going on in Honduras? What's going on in Nicaragua? Let's touch on Nicaragua for a moment. So if you guys know a little bit, Nicaragua, I don't know if I should say used to control a good portion of influence in Nicaragua, but it kind of fell off. We went into Nicaragua and we took over the country again. Like same way we did Venezuela. We dropped a whole bunch of paratroopers down there on Noriega's head. Okay? And Noriega, I mean, gosh, you guys got to watch. I think they did like a quasi documentary on Noriega. What do you call those? Like embellished, a little bit embellished, like stylized, right? Stylized movies about Noriega. I think it was on HBO. I think it was called God's Favorite. I mean, when you see how many times Noriega survived ambushes, assaults, attacks, and getting pushed out of government, you really had some favorability there, like for real. But that aside, we went in there because, again, it was about drugs, right? allegedly. But a lot of what's going on is about geopolitical control. And we need to be very attentive to that issue because geopolitics really matters. With China running into Nicaragua right now, with Russia running into Nicaragua right now, specifically China trying to build a whole nother, I guess you want to call it canal situation there. You can go look that up. And it's filled now, but they tried to build a whole nother canal down there. And that was a whole big deal. And it didn't work. And it didn't work because the whole intention was for it to work, but it was more so for them to funnel money into projects into Nicaragua so it could be put into the pockets of different individuals and stuff like that and be used as a giant money laundering operation for billions and billions of dollars. So that's something that we need to have a conversation about. Stephen, I see you there, Stephen. That's something we need to have a conversation about. So if we don't talk about these issues, nobody's going to have a conversation about these issues. Who out there is talking about this? Nobody. Now we got people crying for them to liberate Cuba. Now, Cuba's a little bit of the same situation. Because they're socialists, because they're corrupt, they've got Russia and they've got China running up, down, and through there. And China's everywhere else, too. Don't get it twisted. China's all through Jamaica. Ask a Jamaican. Ask a Jamaican what's going on in Jamaica with the Chinese. They own up everything. They done bought up everything. They own all the ports. They own all the highways. China owns everything. They done put in their own private toll roads. Toll roads, excuse me. Yeah, this is real what's going on. China's taking over the Caribbean and Central America, and we need to be privy to it. And we got to do everything that we can to stop it. So I'm kind of glad we went in there and got rid of Maduro and we're taking over. But I'm also mad that we're not actually taking over, right? Because again, I believe very firmly that we go into a nation, our soldiers deserve the rights of plunder and that they deserve to keep what they kill, and that we should be able to annex the whole territory. And there shouldn't be room for discussion on that. If we're going into a country with our military, what's the point in going in a country with a military? To take it over. That's it. And if Mexico wants some smoke, they can get it too. Because I've been waiting to run down on Mexico City again for a second time. If y'all don't know, we already did that one time. We ended 2 empires in Mexico. And we marched on Mexico City and we took over Mexico City. But people act like that ain't ever happened. So when people are like, oh, well, Mexico is so big and Bulgaria, we marched on Mexico City before. We took over Mexico before. We can do it again. The last time we did it, we just didn't keep it. And that's my issue with all of these military engagements, you guys. We go to these countries and we don't take over and make it part of the U.S. You know, and people say, oh, well, America's an imperial nation. Lies. Absolute lies. I wish we were an imperial country. I wish we were going out taking over other countries. That's not what we're doing. We're putting puppet dictators in there. We're putting all of these corporations behind the scenes that only really benefit the corporations and not the American people. The American people get nothing from this. Nothing. We getting the gold from Venezuela. You're going to use the gold from Venezuela to pay down the debts of the United States of America. Is that what you're doing? Is that what you're doing? Because they got hundreds of billions of dollars worth of gold down there that's already pre-cut in the different depositories of the capital and stuff. We taking that gold. We're going to use that gold to pay off America's debts, huh? What are we really doing? You tell me. Drop a comment in the comments. Be part of the conversation. Because we have to ask ourselves, how do I, as an American citizen, benefit from this? How do we really benefit from this? And it's so disgusting, it makes me want to spit. Hold up. And this is real. This is real. This is why we need to have these conversations. Because if we don't, nobody is going to. Real quick, you guys are listening to The Divide with Marcus C. Williams. We are here in your ear, having the conversations that you need to hear. We are on Rochester Free Radio, WRFZ 106.3. Don't touch that dial. We are here from 2:30 to 4 p.m. every Monday. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell the enemy down the street, tell them to tune into the show, and let's go. All right, so back at it. We've got these issues with China and Russia being all throughout the actual Central and South America. So we have to deal with them seriously, clearly, and directly. This Venezuela move was definitely a big step in a right direction to help kick them out and take back the different mining rights and stuff like that. If you guys don't know, we're in a mineral war with China right now. China owns a large portion of the rare earth mineral rights around the world and other very important crucial minerals as well. So we need to be very much so on the lookout for that. One of the reasons why Israel is so invested in Central and South America is partially because there's a lot of resources there that Israel needs. Again, Israel doesn't have access to a lot of other resources from around the world as well. A lot of places don't deal with Israel at all. That's another part of what's going on to this stuff that's going on in Nigeria, but we're not really going to talk about Nigeria today. But that's a lot going on over there. Israel's all in Nigeria too. Why is Israel in Nigeria? This is a good question. We need to have that question. Why is Israel in Nigeria? Why is Netanyahu out here talking about, oh, well, we're going to help the Christians, and they don't care about Christians. They don't. They never have. They barely care about any Jews that aren't European Jews. Because if you guys will remember, and you guys go look, don't take my word because I'm saying it. Listen, like I always tell you, believe me because I'm saying it, not because I'm telling you. I'm going out my way to tell you. So to make sure that I'm telling you, go look it up. Israel forced sterilized thousands of Ethiopian Jews because they didn't want them to have a set population in Israel as a nation. Make that make sense to me. Okay? So when we have these important conversations, we have to understand that they're only out for themselves and a specific subgroup they're in. But that's why they're talking about they want to go into Nigeria now. And again, the U.S. bombed over there. So what's going on over there? More questions. It's about influence, and it's about what's going on internationally because there's a lot of Russia going on over there in that region. That's another conversation. But let's get back over here to our side of the pond, okay, and get back to talking about the other countries down there. All of these countries in South and Central America are getting linked up with China. Many of them have taken part in the Belt and Road Initiative. We've talked about that before. Go look it up. And many of them are now, honestly, indentured servants to the Chinese empire because they owe them so much money that they're not able to pay it back. So China is taking over their ports, their railroads, their airports, their crucial infrastructure, their dams, and all types of stuff. And we need to be paying attention to what's going on. So this move in Caracas, this move in Venezuela, good move overall. I still wish we wouldn't have gone in there unless we're going to take over the country. Maybe we can install Marco Rubio as the governor of Venezuela, right? I joke, but I'm also serious. I'm 100% serious. Like, if we're not annexing Venezuela, we're not doing right by the American people. Now, I see a whole bunch of people clamoring for us to do something about Cuba. And if you guys aren't familiar with what's been going on in Cuba, just a couple months ago, maybe about 2 months ago, not too long even, Cuba just made it so that the US dollar can be used in Cuba. And, you know, those imperialist dogs, America, we can't deal with them. We won't do anything with America. Well, now you're using the American dollar. How's that taste? It tastes a little bit harsh in your mouth. How you feel now, Cuba? You know? Anyway, like I said, I want Cuba to be part of the United States again. We should have never gave up Cuba. Never gave up Cuba. That was the dumbest thing we ever did. Right up there again with the Philippines. Philippines, I love y'all. Y'all come home, okay? We want y'all back. Now, if you guys have any questions on why I feel that we need these other countries, specifically Cuba and the Philippines, because, again, we're at war with China and Russia, okay? Russia to a much lesser extent. Really, we're more at war with the European Union and the UN than we are with Russia, but that's a whole nother conversation. But the territory and the resources of these other nations are very important, but also their strategic places. Like the Philippines, we need the Philippines for war with China. We're going to war with China. It's not going to happen unless the Chinese communist regime magically disintegrates. Like, that would be an act of God Like like not even all of the usurpation, all of the CIA, all of the Mossad. Like it's not gonna happen. They're not gonna do it. Okay, like, but if it were to happen, and we were to be able to see the collapse of the Communist Party, that'd be fantastic. But the fact of the matter is most likely we're going to open firing war with China. So we need the Philippines. We need Cuba, especially the fact that Cuba's got all these extra missiles and stuff and bases for China and Russia on there right now. And we're not about to have that. We're not about to have that. We don't need China to have any type of a gateway, a doorway, a corridor. I don't need them to have a peephole into the interior of the Caribbean. You know, like this is real, like, and it has real impacts, and we need to understand that. So as we tie up this whole conversation about the geopolitical moves that we've got going on in South and Central America, I want to make it very clear. Okay, I know a lot of people are happy that we got rid of Maduro, but the question is, how is that going to benefit you as a everyday American citizen? Are we getting their gold? Is the United States taking their gold to pay down America's debt? Have they taken their gold? And I'm not talking about the gold for the mines. I'm talking about the actual gold that they have in their depositories. Are we taking their gold and giving everybody from the US a little bit? Is that what we're doing? I don't see that. Are we annexing their country to incorporate them into our nation? I don't see that either. We should be, but we got all of these corporations running wild down there. Now, a part of what happened in Venezuela, why we ended up tearing them up and tearing them over, is very similar to Libya, okay? And again, don't believe me because I'm saying it. Believe me because I'm going out my way to tell you. Go look it up. What happened in Libya, we're going to connect these dots here. What happened in Libya was not because, oh, Gaddafi bad, Gaddafi mean. No, Gaddafi said that, well, let me go back a step. Gaddafi gave some of his money, I forget how many, there's billions and billions of dollars, he gave to, what do you call them, Goldman Sachs, right? And Goldman Sachs lost all his money. The money was supposed to be put in low volatility stocks. And what did they do? Put them in high volatility stocks, and they lost all the money. They lost all of the money. And this is I see you there. I'm going to comment on that in a second. And they lost all of Gaddafi's money. And Gaddafi's treasury minister told the Goldman Sachs people, he said, listen, either you guys give us our money back because you scammed us, or we're going to put you down like dirty dogs. They didn't say that. I'm on air. I just want to make sure that I'm being all right and safe with my language. So they said, we're going to get rid of you. And then what happened? Not more than a month after they said they threatened Goldman Sachs, the U.S. was all in there. Why was the U.S. all in Libya? Why did we topple Libya because of that? Yes, there were a bunch of other knock-on reasons about it, but really it was because of Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs said that they would pull all the funding because they fund both sides, the Democrats, Republicans, and everything. And they were really deep in bed with Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton, but also all the Republicans too. This is not an unknown. So they said, if you don't do something about these people in Libya and get rid of them, then we're going to stop funding you and we're going to let out your dirty secrets. And the U.S. said, oh, no, we can't have that. So they went and they toppled Gaddafi's government. Whatever happened to Gaddafi's gold? He had tons and tons of gold, literal tons. What happened to Gaddafi's gold? Where'd that gold ever go? Right? Can we have that conversation? It's important. Hit the like button and subscribe and share. So this is what we need to have these conversations about, right? All of that was about these private bankers behind the scenes, these corporatists behind the scenes, maneuvering the government and our military as their private mercenary forces. And this is what we have to understand goes on far too much. Okay, we got to put an end to this. That's the same thing that's going on in Venezuela. You know, one of the biggest reasons why we went into Venezuela was for the tech bros. Go look it up. I can't make this stuff up. Go look it up, y'all. Believe me because I'm telling you, and go look it up. So what happened in Venezuela is the tech bros and the Bitcoin people and stuff like that carved out like this little section of Venezuela that was all for themselves. All for themselves. It was like a state inside a state. Like a nation inside a nation where they could do whatever they want. They had total total rule over it by themselves. These are these corporatists, these Bitcoin people, and these technocrats. They had it like their lavish private islands. Think of like a Jeffrey Epstein utopia. Okay? And then what happened? I'll tell you what happened. Then Nicolas Maduro got mad. He was like, hey, you guys are doing a lot of too much down here, and you're not giving us any real money like we should be getting, you know? And he said, well, we're going to crack down on you. And they said, you're going to crack down on us? Oh, whoa, 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 don't do that, don't do that. And what they do? They went and they complained to the U.S. They complained to the U.S. And if you look, most of these tech people and Bitcoin people are all up in the previous administration, all up in the current administration, and they was all up over everything, okay? Because these are the people who are putting the money behind the scenes that are influencing all of our national policy and what gets done. Okay, so that is another thing going on with the Venezuela stuff. The tech bros wanted their whole own private area, and Maduro was going to take it away from them. He was actively taking it away from them and reining them in, and they were not happy about it. So just like they did in Libya with Gaddafi, okay, and Goldman Sachs, the tech bros did in Venezuela. They said, we got to get rid of this dictator, so let us push our money around in Congress and make it happen. And that's what happened. Because otherwise, and this is the craziest part, right? Like people try to say, oh, well, Trump, oh, well, Trump. No. Oh, well, Biden, oh, well, Biden. No, y'all. No. It's everybody. Because it's the money behind the scenes that are manipulating not just the market in our nation, it's also the manipulation of every single one of our, well, not all of them, but almost all of them, all of the members of our Congress, all of the people making our laws, all of the bureaucrats that are getting paid off to push these agendas inside our nation that are not serving our nation, but are serving the corporatists, the cronies, and all of these foreign interests. And we need to have these serious conversations. Hit the like button, hit the share button. Let's go to some of these comments. I see y'all with the comments. Come on, let's get these comments. Let's see. Can I make it bigger? Yeah, let's see. Okay, there we go. We got, let's see. Luke says, just like every other war in my lifetime. That's right, Luke. It's the same thing happening over and over and over again. And that's what we got to recognize. It's the same pattern. Luke says, Happy New Year, brother. Yes, it's always a question. What comes next? Maduro is a bad guy, but the U.S. has a bad habit of getting involved like this, and then the situation degrades every single time, Luke. Every single time. Okay? Like, this is crazy. Let's see, who's this here? Papadakis. If you guys know who Papadakis is, he was a dictator in Haiti, so that's funny that this is this guy's name. Good to see you, brother. Okay, what is with the gold in the Twin Towers that got gone? Bro, don't even get me started on the gold from the Twin Towers. Don't get me started on the gold from the Twin Towers. Don't get me started on the insurance from the Twin Towers, and don't get me started on who wasn't in their offices on that day. Don't get me started there, but okay, let's see what else we got. Mazi says Gaddafi no longer sold his, what does it say? Gaddafi no longer sold his oil in dollars. Gaddafi no longer sold his oil in dollars. That's what Mazi says. That's an important thing. We were talking about that. You came in a little late, but we were talking about bricks and stuff like that. Let's see. He says, oops, we got a lot of comments coming in at one time. Okay, it says, no, we went in because of the oil was no longer transaction. No, that's not why, Mazi. That's not. That's part of the reason, as we were covering earlier with the Venezuela situation. There are many factors in this, and that's part of the reason. But the real reason was Goldman Sachs. Go look into it. Go look into it. Mazi says, we also want the oil. Yes, Mazi, we do want the oil, but the oil is, again, only part of the whole situation. We don't want to get distracted and bogged down with the conversation on the oil. Okay, because there's so much more there. You lose sight of the forest for the trees. See, who's this? says, Luke says, the biggest scam the biggest scam our leaders ever pulled on us was convincing us that there are two parties and keep us fighting. And it's a uniparty, and that's been going on for a long time. Absolutely right, Luke. Absolutely right. And that's what we're facing right now. That's what we're facing right now. Mazi says, I gave you three things, not just oil. Yeah, you said the oil, the transactioning, and the dollar, and I don't remember what the third one was or whatever the case is. Sorry about that. A lot of comments are coming in at one time. But we talked about the SWIFT and the transacting in dollars earlier. You missed that part. We were talking about BRICS, which also, I know I saw a comment in there about BRICS, but I don't know where it went, you guys. Sorry about that. Okay, so let's jump back into it. If you want to be part of the conversation, drop a comment below and we will pop you up in the screen and you can be part of the conversation. Now, as we tie this all up with a little bow, I want to remind you very firmly that all of this, almost everything that the US does, is driven by money. Driven by money that we as the people of the American society will not see, will not benefit from. And I know it sounds like a lot, and it might be discouraging to know that there's a lot of money in government and stuff like that, and that's manipulating a lot of things. But where we can make a difference and actually start to make a real impact is locally, on the city level, on the county level, right here in our own backyards. That's where we can actually start to make a difference, okay? Talking about local and encouraging you guys to get active local is so important to me. I don't just talk about it, I am about it. I'm very active locally in politics. I'm very active locally with city council. I wish I had some more people that are willing to get active locally with the school board, because that's a whole nother beast that I don't even have time for. But what just happened over the weekend, bringing it into New York State and bringing it into Rochester, New York, where I live, is last Friday, a couple days ago, January 2nd, I submitted legislation to city council. I sent it over to each of the city council members, okay, including the city clerk. I sent over a bill to actually work on addressing the issues with biometric surveillance in the public areas and biometric data collection. Along with that, in the bill also, it featured a right to cash, because they're trying to get rid of cash, you guys. They're trying to push everything digital. All of this is about being able to track you 24 hours a day, and we don't want that. It's not just tracking. It's also predictive movements. It's also predictive behavioral patterns that they are trying to trace you down from. But also just tracking your facial recognition, your irises, your eyes, your vocal recognition, your gait detection, that's how you walk, all of this stuff, that's not okay. They're collecting more and more of your data all the time, and they're selling it. Not only are they selling it, they can do terrible, horrible stuff with it once they get it. And I need like 2 hours to go into that really in depth the way that it should be. Okay? Because it's very important that we get active local. So I seen this becoming an issue. Last year, I tried to get the city council to put forth a bill on limiting biometric surveillance. There wasn't really much taste for it. They said, oh, it's not an issue, whatever, whatever. So the first thing I did, as soon as they inaugurated, even before they inaugurated the new session of people, I sent out emails to everybody. Okay, the first day that they get into work, they got a whole bill right there, ready for them. Okay, because this is serious. So I did that on Friday. Guess what happened is yesterday, excuse me, I think it was Saturday. It might have been Saturday night, Sunday morning. Comes out a story in our local newspaper, Wegmans, which is our local homegrown grocer, okay, that they are using biometric scanning in New York City to track people and stuff like that. And I said, see, this is why I'm so glad that I put out that legislation just last week, because it's important that people understand and know what's going on. And it's crazy the timing of that just so happened at the same time as I had just released this piece of legislation to city council. But again, this is where we can make an actual difference on our local levels. If you guys are interested in putting together a bill similar, I can send you over the information to the bill that I submitted. But it's important because locally is where we can make the change. I've already got the stuff going, and we need to move this stuff forward, but we also need it on the state level. I'd like to see it on the county too, but the county's kind of, but we got at least one crazy bat lady is out there talking about it. I don't like her too much, but you know, every now and then, even a broken clock is right twice a day. So that's something worthwhile. And we could talk about that. And I think it's worth talking about. If we don't understand that the massive data collection that's done by the government, especially with their co-aggregation with different AI models and companies like Palantir, like what's that military company? Adrian Crow, I forget what it's called. It's the weird guy that has a little goatee. That guy. I can't remember. Adrenal, something like that is the name of the company. It's escaping my head right now. But they do a lot of massive analysis of data. I see the comments there. We'll get to them in a second. They do a lot of massive amounts of data aggregation so that they can do predictive behavioral models and stuff like that. And I think that people aren't adequately concerned that the more data that people have on you, the more easily they can move you around or maneuver you as if they were the hand of God and you'd never even know it. That's why this type of bill is such an important thing. That's why these type of conversations are so important to have, because you got people that are out there right now that'll say, oh, well, it's not an issue. It's not an issue. It's absolutely an issue. What are you talking about? It's not an issue. Oh, well, your phone tracks you all the time. This is fine. It's not bad. Don't worry about it. Or just wear a mask so it covers your face. Are you losing what little sanity we have left? We're just going to sit here and let this type of biometric data be continually collected on us all the time and sold? Not only is being collected, it's being sold, because that's what they always do, because they want to make some more money, y'all. Wake up. Okay, if you're in Rochester, the act that I submitted is called the Rochester Sovereignty, Biometric Privacy, and Cash Access Act. I'll say that again. The bill is called the Rochester Sovereignty, Biometric Privacy, and Cash Access Act. If you live in the city of Rochester, call City Council, email City Council, tell them to support this bill. It's very important that we get this passed, not later, ASAP. Okay, so let your friends know, let your families know, all of that. And if you live somewhere else and you would like to get something similar started in your township or in your city, I'd be happy to share some framework with you. So reach out to me. Let's drop some of these comments here. Okay, let's see. Gotta go back a little bit. Mozzie's got a whole bunch of comments. Mozzie, I see you got a whole bunch of comments. Mozzie says a lot of stuff. Mozzie, I'm only gonna take a couple of these comments because you said a lot of stuff. Let's see. Oh, wait, hold on. What was this? Luke, we got that comment. Okay, there we go. All right. Mozzie says, can you explain how not being on the SWIFT system affects the U.S. Treasury bonds? Yeah, that's kind of more a little bit heavy for this show here. But essentially, you guys, what Mozzie is talking about is similar to what we were talking about earlier with the BRICS and how they're trying to set up an alternate economy, not using the US dollar. If less people use the US dollar, essentially our dollar is worth less. And that means that we have to put more effort into transacting in other currencies. Not only does it make it more difficult for us to do that, it also comes with the lack of ability to put sanctions on other countries. So that's something that is a big concern. And you might have heard Marco Rubio talk about it, or any other number of people talk about it before. Let's see. Luke says, and regarding the cashless situation, then when we say something they don't like, they're going to shut it off. That's exactly what's going to happen. And we won't be able to buy anything. Exactly. And that's why we need this going on now, because they are pushing us to digital ID. They are pushing us to digital currency. And who controls the internet? The government. Who controls the electricity? The government. Okay. And those are just them controlling those items, right? Like if they have you on a digital credit system, if they have you using digital ID, if they have you using all of these different things that are controlled directly through the government, just like Mozzie was talking about the SWIFT system, it'll be just like that. If they don't like something that you said, they'll shut you down. They'll shut you down real quick. We saw something similar happen during January 6th. We saw something similar happen during the Canadian protests in Ottawa with the trucker protests, which were extremely peaceful, no violence, nothing destroyed, nothing broken, none of that. And they were shutting off people's bank accounts and cards that were in all the way on the other side of the country in British Columbia that donated $5 to help support the truckers that were doing the protest. That's happening here in America too, you guys. We look at what happened during January 6th and how they shut down so many of their accounts and stuff like that. They were shutting down people's accounts that bought Bibles, in Washington, D.C. around that time. Don't listen. Again, don't believe me because I'm saying it. Believe me because I'm telling you, go look it up. Like you can't even, this stuff is so serious and so real, and we don't have the adequate conversations about these very, very important issues. Very important issues. So take a second. If you guys are listening to us on the radio, go to Patreon, go to Rochester Free Radio on Patreon, donate, and in the comments, put The Divide with Marcus C. Williams, and the donation will go as a credit towards the show to get us more airtime and stuff like that. If you guys are online, you can help out the show. Look at the two sides over here. If you're on the wide screen like this, or look down here, you can see on the bottom how to do that, how to support the show. We need your support so we can have these important conversations. Please get the message out and share this, and definitely hit that like button. Let's see, we got some other comments here. We got Papa Duckin. I don't know how to say your name, but I love it still. He says, digital social score. That's exactly what we're talking about. Digital credit, that's where we're going. And it's a serious, serious problem. And we need to stand up and we need to start pushing back against these things on the local level. Because let's be honest, Congress moves slow. Congress moves slow. I want a bill against that. There was one in Congress last session. I think it was last session. It might have came into session before last. It never got passed. What happened to that? There's also supposed to be a bill about cash access, protecting cash access in Congress. I don't know whatever happened to that bill either. But this goes into the conversation I was having with you guys last week. A lot of these bills and stuff are being sabotaged by people that call themselves being for the people. People that call themselves conservatives or Republicans are sabotaging the bills that conservatives or Republicans should be supporting. The same thing is going on the side of the Democrats, where they should be supporting certain things and they're not. Let's look at the bill that Anna Paulina Luna and what's her name, Ocasio-Cortez, that they put together, both of them, okay? And the bill was about capping interest rates on credit cards. That's amazing. That's an amazing bill. We need that. I think they wanted 10 or 15%. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it's an amazing thing because usury used to be a crime in the United States. Usury is illegal based on Christian philosophy. It's also illegal based on Islamic philosophy, but that's a separate conversation. Okay. And we know whose religion it's not. Okay. Not illegal based on their religion because they like to charge everybody all the interest and everything. But we're not going to talk about that. But this is a serious situation. We've got good bills out there that are being put out there before Congress and nobody will take them up. They get stalled out in committee. They actually make it to the floor. They push it out away from the floor. And this is serious. This is a serious issue. This is a serious, severe issue. And we need to talk about it. That's why I encourage you, start putting this legislation forward locally. Locally. And if you can get them to identify it on the state level, because that would be fantastic. You know who's doing real good at that right now? Florida is. The Florida Governor DeSantis and his people in do they have assembly or do they have house? I don't know how they do it down there. Maybe they have assembly like we do up here. But the assembly and the state senators that they got down there, they're doing a good job. They put through a whole bunch of legislation. I saw them do something about keeping cash as legal tender. I don't know if that went through, but I did see them ending property tax. That's fantastic. I wish we could get a property tax bill here passed like that, because you should not have to pay property tax. That's kind of crazy. If you purchase it, now you got to rent it back from the government forever, eternally. That's insane. That's insane. Now they want to talk about 50-year mortgages. 50-year mortgages, the average home buyer age is like 43, 45. You're going to be dead. That's what, 95 years old by the time you would pay off a 50-year mortgage? And the average life expectancy in the US is 78. What are we doing? Again, these corporatists, these bankers, these people that are so involved in the ever workings of our Congress are stalling these important things that would actually benefit our citizens. And we need to have these conversations. And I encourage you to have these conversations with more people. Get active, you guys. Get active. And again, if you live in Rochester, or if you're anywhere in New York State, especially for that matter, I want you to encourage anybody that you know in the city of Rochester to call City Council and support the Rochester Sovereignty, Biometric Privacy, and Cash Act. I submitted it last Friday. It's there. Please encourage them. Call City Council, email City Council in Rochester. Tell them you support this bill. You want them to support it. It's very important. It's very important. I'd love to get this bill passed in the next month. By February, I'd love to have the bill passed. You know, one of the first initiations of one of the first bills. Listen, I'd be as happy as a cat with a ball of yarn. You understand what I'm saying? That we actually did something to protect our citizens for a change. Because far too often our citizens are left behind, our citizens are overlooked, and nobody cares about us. Again, largely it's the corporations, it's the private interests, it's the foreign interests that are all in and out of our government that are doing everything that they can to substantiate themselves, not the American people. Not us, not you, not me, not any of us. And this is why we have to be very attentive to what's going on. It's also why we must take a stand now. And I can't stand, and I'm going to get on a whole bunch of people. Somebody going to be real mad and feelings going to be real hurt right now. But I can't stand none of y'all that be out there like, oh, well, your phone tracks you all the time, so we shouldn't worry about it. You are a unfortunate, misguided soul, okay? Because when you say stuff like that, you don't really understand the direction that we're going in. Like Papa Duncan 299 said, it's going for a digital social credit score. That's the direction that we're going. And I remember being silenced talking about digital credit scores, talking about social credit scores, talking about central bank digital currency. And now all of that is right here. They've deplatformed me. They've blacklisted me. They've, shadow banned me about talking about these very issues, which are here right now. Because I talked about them a couple years before they were really on the edge of everybody's lips. The US already has digital currency that they're trying to push. New York State already has a digital ID they're trying to push. California already has a digital ID they're trying to push. Go, you don't believe me? Go look it up. I'm trying to tell you. I'm not going to mislead you. Okay? I talk too much to tell people lies. That's for real. I done forgot what I was lying about. You know what I'm saying? Plus, you don't get any credibility for telling lies. I mean, honestly, you don't get much credibility for telling the truth nowadays. And I do get a lot of animus and stuff like that because I tell the truth so often and people don't like it. They can't deal with it. Because again, special interest, private interest. And largely, a lot of these people are out for themselves, so they don't really care. And it's so bad, it's disgusting. Make me want to spit. But this is why we got to get active and we can make a difference. It's got to be local, though. It's got to start local. In New York State, right now, we've got a governorship race where the Elise Stefanik, okay, who was the presumptive nominee for the GOP, just backed down. I don't know what's up with that. It seemed like she had a lot going on. That is very interesting. But she raised millions and millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars. I wonder where that money will go now. I bet you it goes to the state GOP coffers, and the state GOP ain't got no money, and that's why they're getting it. But I got questions now. Was that the whole game against the people to begin with? They didn't expect to win very much, or they knew that something was coming for her. And they were like, oh, well, let's just get all the money we can and then give it to the state party. Because I was thinking about it and I'm like, she can't give it to the other guy, Bruce Blakeman. She can't give him the money. He can't get the money because of, campaign finance laws. So then where would the money go? Boom, it hit me. The only place it could possibly go is to GOP state. So hopefully they use that money to actually win some races in some places and invest some money into some places that they haven't been investing in, because we're losing all across the state and we shouldn't be losing like that. We shouldn't, in strongholds. And that's kind of crazy. So, but they got this new guy running and I'm like, I don't know what to do about this guy. Bruce Blakeman, he sounds like everything I would always ever want in a Republican candidate. But I don't know. I don't know if he can win. I don't know if Elise could have won, but a lot of people have more faith in Elise than they do in Bruce, and most people don't know anything about him. So, I mean, I don't know. I liked his commercials. Commercials seemed real good. He sounded like everything I ever wanted, but you always also got to be kind of skeptical of that. But I don't know if they think that he can win. I'd like to see numbers on paper if they really think that he can win and how. But I do think that it is better that he is downstate. So maybe more people know who he is downstate. Maybe he can get some more votes down there. But honestly, I don't really know. And I don't really see much happening. I wonder why his campaign hasn't raised that much money yet. And honestly, I'm concerned, right? And then Kathy Hochul is supposed to be running against, I guess, Delgado, which I don't think Delgado's going to run. I think he's going to pull out. Okay. And I don't know who's going to be the lieutenant governor for the Democrats yet, but it won't be Delgado because Kathy's mad at him because he tried to screw her by talking about he's running against her. But who knows? Again, all of this could just be a play because politics is really dirty behind the scenes, and you got to always watch them because they're always up to something else and they're always conning you. It's very important that we have these conversations because, again, it's very, very important. Very important. And I bring up the New York stuff and her dropping out because, look, just earlier today, if you're just tuning in, just earlier today on the news, Tim Walz is stepping down from his race, not from governor. I wish he stepped down from governor too, but I don't know who the heck the lieutenant governor is, and that might be worse. That's what happened here in New York when Cuomo stepped down and then Kathy took over and she's worse than he was. They both terrible, but she's super ultra terrible. You know what I'm saying? But he's stepping down, so he's not going to run. Who's going to run for governor? It won't be Ilhan Omar. But no, seriously, who's going to run for governor now that he's not running? That'll be interesting. So they only got a couple weeks to decide who's going to run. So we'll see what happens out there. Keep your eye on Minnesota because that's going to be crazy. What would be really nice is I see all of these people in Congress now, and even what's her name? Kirsty Noem, and what's the attorney general name? Oh, I don't really like her like that. What's her name? I wanted Matt Gaetz, by the way. I don't like her so much. This lady. What's her name? I can see her face. I don't know. Y'all know who the attorney general lady is. That lady. Her and Kirsty Noem and a number of other people have come out of the administration talking about, oh, yes, Jeanine Pirro also. And we've seen all of these people that are doing these election fraud things and stuff is happening and going on. And we need to do something about it. And what? You going to do something about what? The election fraud? They're talking about 2020 and stuff like that. Y'all ain't done nothing yet. The statute of limitations is pretty much up for most of these things. What y'all going to do? You going to finally put somebody in prison when? When ain't nobody going to prison? I don't even know if anybody's really being prosecuted, but it sounds good. Same thing with the stuff in Minnesota. Anybody ever going to go to prison over all the fraud that just came up magically? This fraud's been going on for years. Anybody going to go to prison? Probably not. Probably not. But I want to go back to the fact that they're talking about all of these issues with the 2020 election and all of this fraud and stuff like that. When are they going to do something about it? When are they going to do something about it? Which brings me back full circle to Venezuela and the Smartmatic machines. Go look into that, Venezuela and the Smartmatic machines, okay? And all of the accusations of issues with them and whatever the other company was. Drop the name of the other machine company. It's slipping my mind right now. Domino. I I think it's Domino. Whatever the company's name is, drop it in the comments. Y'all know the one I'm talking about. Domain, something like that. Y'all know who I'm talking about. Anyway, Dominion, there we go. That was the name. I got it. So Dominion, Smartmatic, all of those companies. And look into their ties with Venezuela. Again, try to tell y'all about them tech bros. Y'all not trying to hear me though. Okay? A lot of real shady stuff is going on. So maybe we'll finally get some justice for what happened during the 2020 election. Okay, because a lot of that was very, very crazy. Like, I really want you guys to go back and look, because a lot of you are like, there wasn't no fraud or whatever. So the Democrats went from there's no fraud to there's some isolated fraud to there's not widespread fraud. You understand what I'm saying? So that's kind of crazy to me. But I want you to go back and watch the video of them putting up boxes on the polling places where they were in Philadelphia, and they weren't letting the poll watchers back in. Okay, I want you to go watch those videos because people act like this stuff didn't happen. I want you to go look up in California where they found those tens of thousands of ballots in a ravine that got dumped out of a mail truck. I want you to go look this stuff up. I want you to go look up that train that got derailed. I think that train was in Pennsylvania, I believe, too. That train that got derailed that had thousands of pre-filled ballots already. We need to have these serious conversations, you know? Again, the presidential stuff really bothers me little, but I am concerned about local and state level elections. If they're willing to do that for that, they'll do it for here. They'll do it for county. They'll do it for the state. They'll do it for local. They don't care. And they continue to get away with it and nobody does anything. You know, and then what's her name? What is the lady that got arrested for proving that the whole system was very flawed and Trump's trying to get her out of jail? I can't remember her name. Sorry, it's slipping my head right now. But that's something that's important too. Like, we've got all of these very serious, important things going on. And I don't know if there will ever be any resolution because nobody ever goes to prison. You know, after they found all that fraud in Minnesota, now New York State representatives that are Republicans are like, oh, well, because of that, we need a deep dive investigation into all of this stuff in New York State. Really? Really? But people on the ground have been screaming there's fraud for years, and you guys haven't done nothing. You haven't done nothing since we had more people in the Senate. I mean, well, yeah, in the Senate. In the state Senate, I'm talking about. You haven't done anything. What have you done? Now all of a sudden you're screaming. The Democrats are still in charge of everything. They're not going to do anything. Nobody's ever going to go to prison. You're telling me, oh, well, we should look into this. We know that there's fraud. I live in Rochester, New York. Every single year, tens of millions of dollars is missing from the school budget. Tens of millions of dollars. They haven't passed one audit in the last 30-something years. Okay, where is the money from the RCSD? How come nobody is in prison, bro? Never? Nobody? One year they overspent, it was like $66 million that the RCSD overspent. And then they were like, oh, no, it wasn't 66. It was only 33 million that we overspent or whatever the case. Well, where the heck did you, first of all, how you overspend $33 million that you never had to begin with? That makes sense to me. That's gotta, you can't overspend $33 million. Make it make sense. And where did the money get spent at? Nobody knows. It just into the air. Come on now, stop playing with me. Stop playing with me. This year, the RCSD has a $38 million budget shortfall. How do we have a budget shortfall when we have the biggest, let me not say the biggest, but we have the most funded school district in the nation, second most funded school district in the nation. But we got the most funded school district in the nation, and you talking about you got a budget deficit of $38 million incoming? How? Y'all shut down a ton of schools last year. You got rid of a ton of teachers. You got less teachers, less schools, less students, and you need more money. Somebody make it make sense. And you want to talk about fraud on the state level. Oh, these frauds with these different programs for the medical and the daycare and the this and the that. If we got fraud in the school and you haven't put anybody in prison over that, what makes me think or even reason to believe that you're doing anything other than playing in my face about these people that are committing fraud in the daycares, in the medical assistance programs, that you're going to do anything about that. Nothing's going to happen. Nobody's going to do nothing. Y'all not never going to do nothing. Y'all ain't arrest one person to put them in prison yet. Y'all ain't go after one person to put nobody in prison yet. And y'all keep steady playing in the American people's face, playing in Republicans' face. Talking about, oh, well, we're going to do an investigation to do an investigation. Sound crazy to me. Absolutely sound crazy to me. Stop playing in my face. Stop taking a piss and tell me it's raining. So tired, y'all. And this is why so many people don't go out and vote. And I'm so sick of it, because what's happened, and I'm going to tell you because this is very important. Let me explain to you real simply why a lot of people don't vote. Again, I'm highly involved in local politics. Okay. Politics means a lot to me. I do a show every Monday on politics. You guys are listening to it right now, right? Hello. Shout out to shameless plug for the show you're already watching. Hit like, subscribe, and share, and help get the message out for the show. And hit that heart button. Drop some comments, even if it's just some American flags or hey, I'm watching. Good to see you. Okay, so what is wrong with people, and why won't they vote? Because the government and the people in power keep playing in our face. They tell us, oh, we're going to do something. Nothing ever happens. Did any of the COVID dictators ever go to jail? No. Prison? No. Fines? No. Cuomo? No. You know, Cuomo killed all them thousands of people, old folks. What happened to him? Nothing. Then he got the audacity to run for New York City mayor. Sure. Don't get me started. But this is the problem. Nothing is ever done about these clear political criminals. Like, they're violating these citizens and nothing is being done. Look at the people that they put inside the churches to spy on the churches. The FBI put people inside. Look it up. I'm telling you. Don't believe me because I'm saying it. Believe me because I'm telling you. Go look it up. The FBI put a number of different surveillance agencies inside churches and inside Catholic churches, especially, saying that anybody that does traditional Latin mass or is a traditional conservative needs to be put on a watch list because they could be a threat. Excuse me? Because they're concerned that we might actually stand up for righteousness in our country. That's crazy, y'all. Look at how these people really look at us. How come none of them are in prison? We know for a fact now that what happened to the President Trump with Operation Crossfire Hurricane and with all the other nonsense, we know now that that was a lie. And I don't care whether you like him or don't like him. I'm just making a point here. We know that was a lie. Any of them in prison? No, none of them. Not the two FBI lovebirds, not Cuomo, none of them. And what they be like, oh, well, the statute of limitations, it ran out or whatever. No, these people need to be in prison. Statute of limitation be danged. You know what I'm saying? Like, well, what is going on? If these criminals don't get punished, why? Why do we put anybody in jail? Why is anything illegal? Because it's the citizens. They don't care about you. They don't care about me. They don't care about the everyday citizens. And that's what we got to understand. That's why we got to get active. You, me, everyone. We have to get active. We have to get active locally. Because we can't guarantee that the state's going to do anything or that the federal government's going to do anything. So we have to start getting active locally, pushing the legislation that we need locally so that we can actually start taking some action. Then we need to move up to the county and the state level. That's how we get stuff done. That's how we truly make a difference. That's how we truly show that we want to be the difference and be the change that we want to see. And maybe running for office isn't for you, but maybe you can go moonlight at a city council meeting or go to a school board meeting. But we have to get active. People don't want to vote no more because they don't see anything being done for the everyday citizens. It's the corporatists, it's the private influences, it's the foreign influences. That's where all of the focus goes, to what they want. The private developers, all of this stuff. And in the meantime, the people suffer. Well, guess what? The people are tired of participating in the facade that is the United States government. People don't have a real reason to believe because they don't see anybody that's in office doing what they want. You understand what I'm saying? Like, there's, again, and I've said this before, there's only like 3-4 people in the Senate, in the House of Representatives, in Congress on a federal level that I even see doing half of anything. You know, anything that I like, especially, or anything that's consistent, more or less. On the state level, I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you. The state level, everybody feels so defeated, they don't even really submit legislation. It's kind of go along to get along. What's going on? I don't know. I got some legislation for them this year that I'm going to submit to them, though. Watch me. Okay. I got quite a few pieces of legislation. I got them locked and stocked in 2 smoking barrels. Okay. We ready. So, but the fact of the matter is people don't see what we want being addressed in anywhere in our government. That's why we have to stand up. That's why we have to get active. That's why I'm always encouraging you guys, get active, giving you ideas of what can be done, how we can make a difference, because it's up to us at the end of the day. It really is. We look at Mondani going into New York City. Now, Mondani is the mayor, and he's talking about, oh, well, we're going to get rid of rugged individualism for warm collective communism. For warm, what did he say? Warm collectivism, you know? So that, what do you mean, bro? I don't want none of your collectivism. I want voluntary association. I want voluntary association. I don't want to be forced by the government to be a collective with nobody. If I choose to self-affiliate, to self-align, to self-involve with other people, that's fine. That's what our country is about. Rugged individualism and collective work where we see that we can work together. Not forced collectivism by the government. That is not the same. That is stealing away our freedom of association. And we need to understand that that's what they're pushing. That's what these people that call themselves socialists are pushing. They're pushing to tear away your rights, your liberties, your freedoms. And at the same time, they're going to tell you everything that you want to hear, just dripping honey in your ear. And, you know, that's not good. But people buy it. People lap it up. Why? Because of what we just talked about. They feel spurned by the government. They don't see anybody doing anything that they like. So now it's a mini revolt. Honestly, that's what all this socialism and communism is about. It's a mini revolt against our form of government because they see that the corporatists, that the private interests, that the foreign interests are the ones who are really maneuvering everything behind the scenes. The only thing is they're the same ones maneuvering these things behind the scenes with these so-called communists and socialists. Come on now. A multimillionaire baby that's a crony, okay, that's never had a job in his life, okay, call himself half a rapper, okay, Mondani, gets to be the mayor of New York City and has never worked a real job. He went to the assembly, has proposed no bills, and as far as I can hear from people inside the assembly, nobody even really liked him like that. You guys, what are we doing as a nation? What are we doing? This is why you, me, everybody else, we have to get active locally. Because if it's not for us, it won't be anybody else to do it. That's why we have to stand up now. That's why we have to stand up for our homes, for our communities, for our cities, for our states, and for our nation. Nobody is coming for the everyday citizen to save us. Nobody is coming. Here I am, send me. That's why I'm standing. And I pray to God that me standing up can encourage some of you, any of you, to also have heart and stand up, because now is the time. If not now, then when? Nobody's coming to save us. The time is now to take action, to stand up, to speak up, and don't shut up. You guys, thank you for tuning into the show today. This is The Divide with Marcus C. Williams. Please hit the like, share, subscribe. If you want to support the show and you're on the radio, go online to patreon.com and you can just type in Rochester Free Radio and then you can donate there and you can just put the Divide with Marcus C. Williams in the notes and it'll go as a credit towards our show. If you guys are online, right here on the sides of the screen, you can see us and how you can help the show, or right down below, depending on which format you are, you can see the information to help keep the show alive and going forward. But definitely share. Definitely share. We got to get these messages out there. We got to have the important conversations because nobody else is going to do it but us. And I'll tell you one last time in closing, Nobody's coming to save us. Ain't nobody coming out the ground. Ain't nobody coming out the sky. Ain't nobody coming in on a white horse. Okay? It is up to us to stand up and be accounted for. It is up to us to stand up for righteousness. And it is up to us to stand up for the Lord, our Father in heaven, and Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. Because if we don't, nobody will. And if you don't know Jesus, I encourage you, pray, ask to look upon the face of the Lord, ask him to show himself to you, that he is real, and may you have an encounter with the fire of God today. You guys be blessed and be well. Remember, stand up, speak up, and don't shut up. Take action. All right, you guys. I don't know what I'm supposed to click on this screen. We used to have a thing to click that we were supposed to click, and they done changed it. So I'm just clicking stuff on the control panel over there online on the thing for the internet. They'll figure it out before the next show comes on. But I appreciate you guys tuning in, and we got to take action. So please do donate. You can do Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, however you want to. It's information's right on the side right there. $MW Real, the number one for Cash App. And if you want to do Venmo or PayPal, it's at Marcus C. Williams. I'll catch you guys next week. Make sure you subscribe, make sure you share, and drop some comments, because even the comments after help. Be blessed and be well.